early.
Catching the bus, to run the buses, to get somewhere to drop you guys off. And I'm calling everybody just so I can make sure I'm paying the bills. So going to the academy was stressful because you guys were young, and I just had so many challenges because I just did not know what this environment was like. I'm joining law enforcement. Like, I never considered law enforcement. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and now I'm jumping into this, and now I'm learning how to be a police officer. That was just different. Like, it was just strange because never did I think about being a law enforcement officer because of what I grew up in watching with law enforcement. So it was just a shock.
When people always ask me about you being a state trooper, a police officer, I literally always tell them like she's a mom before she's a state trooper.
Exactly.
And that's how she's a great state trooper.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I believe that the fundamental principles that you learn from being a mom and being a nurturer, a caregiver, being empathetic and looking out for someone outside of yourself is all great characteristics in order to be someone that looks over a community or the state in general. You know what I mean? And I tell them that all the time, because that's personally why I believe what led you to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is weirdly enough, even though you had to even go through all those obstacles, it was like waiting for you for some odd reason. And even with the fact, like for example, that you couldn't swim, you got to tell a story of how you even learned how to swim while you was even during the academy. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So the first week I went to the academy, we had to jump in the pool, and all my classmates were in the pool, and I'm like, yeah, that ain't happening. I'm standing at the edge like, I'm not getting in there, because I saw 14 and a half feet on the floor, and I'm like, considering my height and that's not about to happen. And they're like, get in. I'm like, yeah, no, because I had never been in a pool a day in my life. And they would scream, get in. I eventually jumped in and jumped out, and I was like, yeah, that's not happening again. That was the scariest moment of my life. And they told me, they said, think about if you should be here. Like, I don't think this is the place for you. And they told me to think about it. And for a split second, I thought about it. I said, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. So that weekend, I picked you guys up from your dad that Friday night, and I said, tomorrow we're going to learn how to swim. And you guys are like, yeah, we're going to the pool, right? I'm like, it's not that serious. So we went to JFK the next day, and I talked to and this is what I love about Newark when I talk about that sense of community. I talked to the lifeguards, and I'm like, listen, I'm in the State Police Academy. I need to learn how to swim. And they was like, we got you. And you guys are already, I don't know how long we were there before you guys were already jumping off the diving board into the daggone 14 and a half feet. And then the lifeguards was like, you need to jump off that diving board. And I'm like, I am not getting up there. They're like, listen, to overcome your fear, when you jump down, the water going to automatically push you up. And I am a nervous wreck. I don't know if you remember watching me, but I walked up those stairs and I walked to the edge, and I was like, they not going to let me drown. And I just jumped in. And I came up and was fighting to get to the side, and I did it again. But I still couldn't swim. And so they worked with me, still couldn't swim. So I went through the academy for like 15 weeks, and they gave me 1 day to pass. They said, if you don't pass on Monday, we're dismissing you. That was the only thing I had failed. And so we went back to JFK, and I'm in the 3 feet with the babies, and Darren and Devontae are in the 14 still jumping off the diving board, and they loving the pool. And so I'm in the 3 feet with the babies, and I'm trying to swim, and I'm swimming with my eyes closed. And there was a guy in the middle of the pool, in the baby pool. And I'm like, you better stop looking at me, because here I am thinking he checking me out, and I'm trying to swim. And he said, why are you swimming like that? I'm like, swimming like that? Swimming like what? He said, you keep swimming with your eyes closed. You keep bumping into the wall every time you open up your eyes. Because I'm like this, not realizing my body was turning, and I kept hitting the wall. So he said, listen. I said, listen, tomorrow I have to take the state police swim test. And if I don't pass it tomorrow, I'm getting dismissed. He said, you're going to pass that swim test. So he taught me in that short period of time, after 15 weeks, just focus on your hands. Don't focus on the depth. Just focus on your hands. And he told me how to, the whole time I just want you to focus on your hands. Don't focus on breathing. Nothing. And so he worked with me for probably like 2 hours or 3 hours. And I went to the academy the next morning, and the instructors were like, yeah, today's your day. So I fasted and I prayed and I said, God, if it's your will, I'll pass. If not, you got something more for me. We went to the pool. We worked out for like an hour and a half. The recruits got back on the bus. I had to stay. They set up the video cameras around the pool. I had to jump in. Now, I had to swim a full lap, which I had never done in 15 weeks, and I had to tread water for 5 minutes. Tread water. The most I've ever been able to tread water was maybe 2 minutes. I said, it's all or nothing. And I jumped in.
Oh, God.
And I focused on my hands. I didn't focus on kicking, breathing. I made it down to the end, came back, touched the wall. They said, now you have to tread water for 5 minutes. I felt like the hand of God had lifted me all the way down there and all the way back. I felt like I never got wet. When I came back, I had to tread water, and I just focused on the light in the ceiling. It was like this bright light, and I just focused. And they were like, get out of the pool. Get out of the pool. I'm like, what the heck? Alligator in here? So I jumped. I started swallowing water, everything. It was, and first of all,
and then she instantly lost her powers after that.
I did. I was like, oh my God. And I'm trying to get to the wall and everything, and they said you passed. They was like, how come you wasn't swimming like that the whole time? I was like, it was God, sir. Shut up and go get changed.